going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing another episode of Marvel Monday. Alrighty, so in honor of the huge Doomsday announcement that they did last week where they announced 25, I believe it was 25, it was either 25, 26, or 27 of the cast members that are going to be a part of Avengers Doomsday, they missed out a lot of people on the list, and I wanted to make a video talking about 10 actors that I would have loved to see return, characters that I kind of wish were in this announcement, and just overall characters that I would love to see in general. I decided to rank a top 10, but I'm going to go ahead and start off with one honorable mention that's actually a 2-in-1. Rocket and Groot, I want to see them in this movie, but I want to go ahead and say that the reason I don't think that they would have been in this announcement in the first place anyways is because Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel are both vocal actors, and so for this movie, they're not going to be on set at all for the most part. If Rocket and Groot do show up in this film, they're going to be doing voiceover work, so it does actually kind of make a lot of sense that they wouldn't particularly have these kind of on-set shares, so that's why they're not going to be on this list. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the 10 characters slash actors I really want to see in this movie. So coming in 10th place, we have a huge shortage of our OG Avengers, but one that I definitely feel like I really would have loved to see is Mark Ruffalo. I feel like even if he just was to show up as Bruce himself and doesn't even necessarily need to be the Hulk, because I understand part of the reason he might not be in this movie is because it's a big budgetary thing to include the Hulk in a lot of sequences, and when they have other characters like Evan Moss Backrack's Thing, and they have characters like Kelsey Grammer's Beast, they're going to be spending an ungodly amount of money on CGI, so it definitely makes sense that they might potentially want to hold off on Mark Ruffalo's Hulk until maybe the next movie. That being said, the fact that Mark Ruffalo was not announced here does make me really upset. I think that of the OG 6 Avengers, he's a character that still has a lot to tell, and I think that it would be really interesting seeing if maybe they would change him from being, you know, Professor Hulk, the smart Hulk that he is right now, that a lot of people are kind of annoyed to maybe being more of a maestro character. I think that it would be really interesting. And I definitely think that there's ways that they could have the Hulk in this movie and kind of redeem his character in a way that a lot of the fans have been wanting to see him redeemed. Coming in 9th place, though, in a very similar vein, if we are not getting a Hulk in this movie, I'd be shocked, but another Hulk that I would have liked to see announced is Eric Bana. I think that seeing the OG Hulk showing up in this movie would be incredibly cool, and I definitely think that they're kind of setting it up that there's going to be kind of like an Avengers universe versus a X-Men universe, and I think that it would be really cool if in that X-Men universe they have some of these OG characters. People like, he's not going to be on my list, but Nick Cage's Ghost Rider and Eric Bana's Hulk, I feel like it would have been really cool to potentially see them teaming up with those X-Men characters whenever they're fighting against our Avengers characters. I think it would be really cool, and I just want to see a Hulk for sure in this movie, and I think that seeing him in particular would be really interesting because they did a great job of scaling him up to be incredibly, incredibly tall, and I think that our Hulk has never really been that massive, so seeing characters like our Thor versus that Hulk would be really interesting, and I would love to see that. Coming in 8th place, obviously a lot of people are bringing back throwback actors and they're seeing like really old far-fetched characters that they really would like to see. I would like to see characters they've been setting up. Haley Steinfeld. I absolutely love Kate Bishop. I love everything that she did with the character in the Hawkeye show, and I think that she has so much to bring to an Avengers-level team. I feel like her being kind of like the newcomer character, kind of like a Spider-Man-esque character for this film, would have been incredibly cool, and I definitely think that seeing her get recruited along with some of the other younger characters would have been really interesting. And that being said, I think that them having a Hawkeye character in general could always be really, really important. So the fact that her name wasn't on the list does make me a little upset as well. In 7th place, I was kind of hoping we would get some actors that have played multiple characters because it'd be really interesting to have people kind of speculate, like, wait a minute, but, like, which character is he coming back as? I want to talk about Oscar Isaac. I feel like him coming back as Moon Knight should be a gimme. I feel like he definitely 100% should be showing up in this movie. I feel like he's such an incredible character, and there's so much you could potentially do with him. And he's somebody who would work really interestingly on an Avengers lineup as kind of a wild card character where they're like, well, we have this guy. We don't really know how helpful he's going to be to us. He potentially sometimes spirals and just goes out of control and is really explosive, but sometimes we need a crazy character like that. I feel like that could be really fun, but I also feel like if you had added him after you did, like, you know, the announcement when they had our... Why am I blanking on his name right now? Hello? Sorry, I blanked for a second. Ian McKellen, Rebecca Romijn, they kind of did a couple of like villainous characters in a row. It would have been really funny if they did after Rebecca Romijn, Oscar Isaac, and then people would have had to speculate for a second to be like, they're not having him be Apocalypse, right? Like that would have made sense. Why the hell would he be Apocalypse? I don't know, but I definitely think that that would have been really funny if they kind of like threw it in there with all the X-Men characters and they would have been like, but like he's Moon Knight, right? but like he's gonna come back as Moon Knight, right? And now coming in 6th place, along with the Oscar Isaac thing, somebody who's played multiple characters, Josh Brolin. I specifically do want to see him come back as Thanos, and I specifically just want to see the comic strip where Doctor Doom rips out his spine. I feel like one of the best ways to establish how powerful a character is by having him destroy somebody who we already know is an insanely powerful character. So having Thanos fighting against Doctor Doom as like the opening sequence here, and then having Doctor Doom rip out his spine like he does in the comic book would be incredibly cool, and I would absolutely love to see it on screen. Alrighty, and coming in 5th place, we have Michael Fassbender. I just think that he's an incredible actor. I think that his performance of Magneto is absolutely phenomenal. And obviously, with the two kind of like timelines that they're kind of setting up here, it doesn't really make sense for him to show up, and especially if Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are going to be the Professor X and Magneto in this universe. But that being said, it is multiversal. There could be other characters from other universes. I think that there's definitely a way that they could kind of have one version be like the X-Men that we're used to from the old Fox universe, and then, you know, one version is like the X-Men 97 version, and that's kind of like the Kelsey Grammer and the James Marsden and stuff that we're seeing, and then have the 838 X-Men who's kind of really pissed off because like you killed off our Patrick Stewart, and just kind of have like a bunch of different versions of a bunch of different characters. That being said, I don't really know how he would work into the story, which is why he's only at number 5, because realistically, I would want him at number 1. I love Michael Fassbender's Magneto so much. That being said, it obviously doesn't make sense because they're doing a different timeline. I still love him to death, though. But now coming in 4th place, an MCU character, somebody who's a mainstay and somebody who's been here since, I believe, Phase 2, Benedict Wong. I don't understand how he's been like the connective through point for the majority of post-Endgame movies. I mean, he showed up in shows like She-Hulk. He showed up in Shang-Chi. He showed up, I'm struggling to name all the things that he showed up in, but he's been showing up literally everywhere, and he's been like a great cameo character to just kind of have him pop in for a little bit and be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm the Sorcerer Supreme. And the fact that he's been in all these different projects, but he's not supposed to be in this movie, or he's not one of the ones that they announced, is really weird to me, because I feel like he was going to be like our Samuel L. Jackson type character for this movie, where he was going to be the person who's kind of like bringing everybody together, because it's just like, hey, Captain America, I love you. We need an Avengers team. You're not doing a great job of putting them together. I'm going to grab some people who I think can help you out. And then he comes back and gives them, you know, his Avengers lineup. I think it would have been interesting. The fact that Benedict Wong is not one of the names listed is really weird to me. The fact that they don't have any magic wielders at all is weird to me. But that being said, there's still time for that to change. I'm hoping he's in the movie. Alrighty, coming in 3rd place, this might be a hot take, but like I said, I want MCU characters. I want people who've already been introduced to us. I want Kaman Numanji? Did I butcher his name? I might have butchered his name. I want Kingo to show up in this. And the reason I'm saying this is because the Eternals movie was a relatively good movie, and I think that there was a lot of potential in potentially doing an Eternals 2, and I will never get over the fact that Marvel refused to do an Eternals 2 after the biggest issue with that first movie is that they introduced too many characters, and now that they've killed off some of the characters, and some of them are off-world, and some of them are doing this, and some of them are doing that, and Eternals 2 would have been so good, and the fact that we got robbed of that still makes me really sad, but I would love to just see Kingo show up in this movie. I feel like he's one of the Eternals where, like, him showing up, you don't have to do anything to address it. Just have him show up. He could be a comedic character, which we're definitely going to need comedic relief in this movie. I feel like it's going to get very bleak, very dark. We're going to see some characters die off that we're not necessarily ready to watch them die off. So having a character like Kingo would be fun. I feel like he'd be a really interesting person to kind of like tag along. And I could see him kind of like being like a fanboy of Thor in a sense, and being another one of those like kind of like newcomer characters who brings a nice, fun, new energy to this. And I just think that that's an actor who loves Marvel, loved being in this franchise thing, and is somebody who should come back. He's somebody who deserves to come back. And speaking of somebody who deserves to come back, my number 2 spot is reserved for Evan Peters. I feel like we should get a Quicksilver scene. One of his slow motion sequences again. I feel like they're one of the most iconic things about the Fox X-Men universe. I think that those time in a bottle sequences are incredibly timely, and they usually do a really good job of just showcasing how powerful and interesting of a character he is. And imagine in a fight sequence where it's a bunch of Avengers versus a bunch of X-Men, him just running around by some of these most iconic characters of all time and just kind of getting to mess around with them. I feel like there's so much fun we could have with a character like that. And I feel like Evan Peters, he returned in the MCU and they made it a giant boner joke, and there's so much more you could do with the character. I really want them to bring him back and do him justice. And now my number 1, which should be a surprise to nobody, if we're going to be bringing back Evan Peters' Quicksilver, we need to be bringing back a Wanda Maximoff. Elizabeth Olsen is absolutely incredible. She has had so much heart. The way that she loves this character to death is so beautiful. And I love the fact that she's reading all the comics and she's being able to pull things from random comic storylines. She is a character actor who absolutely is obsessed with the character and the work that made them popular. And I think that that's really cool. I think that we need somebody who respects the comics this much. We need somebody who is willing to embrace all of the weird things that happen to the comics. And I don't care that you potentially killed her off. Bring her back. She's absolutely phenomenal. She's one of the most talented actresses that I feel like they've ever had in the MCU. And if we're being honest, that entire Cher lineup that they showed us, there was only 3 female actresses in it, something like that. Incredibly disappointing, incredibly lacking on the female side of things. I would love to see Wanda Maximoff return, and I feel like if we get to see her in her full Scarlet Witch vibes, and she kind of gets to have a let there be mutants moment, because a lot of people are saying instead of it being no more mutants, let there be mutants, would be really interesting. And I just think that she's such a powerful character that I can't imagine them doing an Avengers movie without her. But yeah, with that being said, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave down below any characters that I missed out that you would really like to see return in this movie. Obviously, there are so many different Marvel characters to choose from, over 40 different movies over the last couple of decades, and obviously the 12 or so TV shows that they've done. There's definitely so many characters. Obviously, I probably could have included people like Clark Gregg, Chloe Bennett. That being said, I'm interested to see who you guys would have liked to see in this announcement. That being said, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.